Hello and welcome to a special episode. Whoa, came in way hot. Gotta dial that down a bit. Hello and welcome to a. Oh, it's still too hot. Still too hot.
You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA. You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA.
Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Fabulous Pelton Cast. I'm your co-host Kevin Pelton,
And I'm Tristan Carcino.
and the Washington Huskies are Pac-12 champions.
Woo!
13-0.
Hello!
Oh, we just blew out the speakers.
Did we?
We did with the hello. For the first time in the history of the conference, it's to a 12-team conference. The Huskies have gone undefeated,
Run the table.
assured themselves a spot in the college football playoff for the second time in program history.
And I think in this moment, the last Pac-12 game that will ever be played, I think it's really important to remember this one message. Dan Lanning, retire, bitch!
We are really blowing out those speakers.
But
tonight.
no, actually, on a serious note about, it's hard not to, Kirk Herbstreit was talking at the end of the game, seeing the Pac-12, to remember this one last message. Bo Nix, retire, bitch! We fucking own you, Oregon! We own you! Kalen DeBoer, 3-0 against Oregon. Here's your motherfucking spread. There you go. Woo! Now for a muted conversation about the Pac-12 championship game.
I don't know how much of that I can put in the podcast.
You're not putting that in there?
We'll see.
Oh, come on.
We'll see. This is the biggest Husky win in 30 years. I mean, we talked about it after the first UW Oregon game. Everything that was at stake in that one. And then kind of by the fact that both of the teams went undefeated after that and the way everything else played out, the first game almost didn't matter because this was the semifinal to the semifinals of the college football playoff. The winner was in. It was extremely unlikely the Huskies were going to get in with a loss, even at 12-1. Everything was on the line between these two historic rivals. The last time they are meeting in the Pac-12, obviously there will be many more games to come in the Big Ten. Heisman,
I will tell you.
I guarantee you, Bo Nix is not winning the Heisman.
Let's look at
I'll
some
tell you that
stats in a
much.
second between these two quarterbacks because I think Michael Penix played himself back into the Heisman conversation. He is back on that podium, no doubt about it at this point. I think there was a question for a second whether he would be there or not.
He's on the podium.
He's on the podium now, and I don't think he's last. So we will see. But I also know that Jaden Daniels, when we're having this conversation, Jaden Daniels is not playing in games like this. Jaden Daniels is done playing for the year. And
but
never,
they sure
never
does have a
played.
lot of billboards.
Oh, in Kent, Washington.
location.
Kent,
Well, no, they
Washington.
put one in Vegas too. For
Oh,
the
there we
Pac-12
go.
championship.
I love the idea, the galaxy brain idea that billboards matter.
Well, guess who invented the billboards?
Oregon?
Yeah.
And they have as many national championships are in their name. They've got a Heisman.
They do have a Heisman.
That's nice. Those don't count for anything, though. So sad.
Multiple Heismans, actually. Right?
Huskies still looking for their first, and he may have won it earlier today. The team is now 13-0, the best record in Washington Husky history, excluding nobody, excluding no team dating back to what year? 18, whatever, 19.
I believe 1890.
We are talking about
maybe 1889.
hundreds of years of Washington Husky history. This is, records-wise, the best team. And to do it with the collision course at the end, right? These two titans of the Northwest, of the Pac-12, going to the Big Ten. We knew that this game was coming for a long time. Until it was official, before it was official, we knew that this game was coming. We knew what the Huskies were going to have to go through. They were going to have to prove it. They won once. They were going to have to prove it on a neutral site.
At home at the end.
And they went down to Las Vegas against an Oregon team that people were slathering themselves over, right? They could not be more excited about this Oregon team. And it goes to show that maybe, just maybe, how badly you beat Colorado, how badly you beat Arizona State doesn't fucking matter. because this UW defense stood up in a lot of great moments. There were so many more punts in this game than you would have anticipated. This UW offense, who struggled against Oregon State, who struggled against Washington State, they said, we're not afraid of Oregon at all because we know that we own this Oregon team and are now 3-0, and we get to go into this weekend. This is my favorite part about it. We get to go into this weekend. We get to go into the next month. That's why this shit is great. Knowing that we're going to be called 1, 2, or 3 in the college football playoff rankings. Everything's on the table at this point. It'll be the highest the Huskies have ever been in the college football playoff. And we get a month to prepare for this in the best possible way. We don't have to stress about next week. We get 1 month to know, to bathe in the victory.
To luxuriate in being unbeaten.
Luxuriate in being unbeaten, and also our second victory against Oregon in the season. They are now Pac-12 champions literally forever. They are the last Pac-12 champion. They are the best Pac-12 champion, indisputably. They are the best Pac-12 champion of all time, and they will have that title for the rest of time. It is a beautiful thing. You have to give it up to so many different players, but ultimately, it comes down to something that I read on a t-shirt last week. Michael fucking Penix. If you don't bleed purple and gold, get your bitch ass out of here. And I couldn't have said it any better than that t-shirt said it. That's where we're at right now with this Husky team. We should enjoy it for the time being. We'll talk about the playoff in a second, but also we're going to go into this playoffs with a real chance to feel like we have a chance to win. We've just beaten the best one-loss team twice. Everybody says it. Statistics, your little FPI that I know that you pray over every night, they love Oregon, right? They love Oregon. UW has beaten them twice and on a neutral site. Show me something like that at any other team in the country.
No, I mean, they had the number 2 strength of the record in the country coming into this week. You look at, Georgia, it's probably not going to have as tough a test against Alabama statistically. They are not rated as well as Oregon. Michigan obviously is facing a team that's nowhere near this conversation. There's a chance that UW ends the weekend top strength of record in the country. There's a chance they're number 2. Boy, they're going to be 1 or 2. And look, I think I understand the college football playoff committee's hesitancy to rank the Huskies ahead of those other 2 undefeated teams, even when they had a better strength of record, given what we saw against Arizona State and Stanford. But that's a fairly distant memory now. Even beating Washington State by 3 points in the Apple Cup is a pretty distant memory by now.
Yep.
Because the most recent impression that they left was that they were better than Oregon, a team that...
This wasn't a lucky win. That's the thing.
I mean, yeah, it really was fairly even on both sides. I mean, they had a 4th down conversion that they didn't get. The 2 teams traded interceptions. They stepped up defensively in the first half of this game. And in the second half, where the defense was a little shaky at times, but made the key stop that they needed to give the offense the ball back with a 3-point lead. But the offense was just a machine during the second half. And if you want to talk about what gives me hope, to go back to your Michael Penix Jr. thing.
Michael fucking Penix. But okay.
Junior.
The shirt didn't say junior.
Well, that's his name.
Look, we're citing the shirt right now.
Okay.
It's the shirt of record at the moment.
Oh, dear. Not putting that in the glossary. Tony Castrico and UW play-by-play broadcaster had this note via @thedatadog on Twitter earlier today. Michael Penix Jr. coming into today in games with a temperature above 60 degrees. We'll count the dome as that. 70% completions, 375 pass yards per game, 22 touchdowns to 4 interceptions.
Michael Penix Jr. can't play in the cold.
I mean, build the dome.
Build the dome.
Whoever drafts Michael Penix Jr., hopefully the Seahawks, build the dome. But
it's actually kind of incredible, right?
It really lines up with the stats. I have been a little hesitant to think about that just because we played at Indiana before. This isn't like...
But he is from Florida.
That's true. So he saw the darkness in terms of temperature previously.
Well, thank God for the Pac-12 championship game being indoors and in Vegas.
But the good news is bowl games famously played in warm temperatures.
Where's the national championship game played this year?
Houston, which I assume is NRG Stadium.
There we
indoors.
go. I assume it's not going to be that cold there.
I mean, the Rose Bowl is the only potential outdoor situation for them, and should be a nice sunny LA day for that one, which he's already played in. He's played in that.
But so when we talked about this not being a lucky victory, if I would have told you going into this game that UW would have held Oregon to 4 punts, 1 field goal, and a pick, you're taking that 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, and I'm thinking your chances of winning are pretty good.
I mean, I thought going into this game that we were going to see Seahawks Cowboys no punts.
I was on this close on the weekly pod to bold prediction Oregon does not punt in this game, which would have been proven untrue after the first drive.
No.
Granted, not my first wrong bold prediction about UW this year, but we'll get to that.
Oh,
on
yes.
The year in review
I
pod
can't
coming
wait.
soon.
Oh, I cannot wait for the year in review. Oh, the bold predictions on the precipice when we were on the brink knowing who we're going to play in the college football playoff.
Oh, wow.
I cannot fucking wait.
Not feeling great about the Shohei Ohtani to the Mariners bold prediction. I'm feeling great about that one, but that's a different pod.
And then the Huskies punted 1 time all game, right? Yeah. There was 1 downs. There was the pick. Like, the Huskies just showed up and they looked like, we talked about this in the weekly pod, they need to look like the Huskies that we know they can be. Dylan Johnson, a motherfucking dog for life, right?
I mean, 1 year at UW, but just packed everything possible into just the back half of this year, starting with the Oregon game.
Oregon USC.
He was the only running back to run for 100 yards against Oregon all season.
Twice.
And did it twice.
2 times.
And 152 tonight, including sealing the game away after we were sitting there calculating all the scenarios of how much time was going to be left for Oregon had the Huskies been forced to punt that ball.
Oh, it is a beautiful thing. I mean, that is always just like, it's the most gut-wrenching play when it's happening against you because you're doing the math and you're like, you know what, there's a chance, right? And then that happens and it is the most deflating play. But when you get that, because obviously they're selling out, right, trying to stop their own short. When you get that, it is the most amazing feeling. Dylan Johnson just like clutching the ball as tight as he can before he goes down. Just like, get down, dude. Get down. You don't have to go any farther. Get down. End this. Let's go to the playoffs. And that's what he did. So Dylan Johnson, a monster game. Say his name. Roma Dunze.
I mean, look. What can you say about Roma Dunze that hasn't already been said about Roma Dunze all season long?
There's only one more thing that I think needs to be said about Roma Dunze, and that is Bolitnikov winner Roma Dunze.
I think what needs to be said is that Troy Franklin, who we talked about, came into this game with better stats. 4 catches for 34 yards.
There's a reason he's not nominated. There's a reason it is Marvin Harrison Jr. It is Roma Dunze. Those 8 catches for 102 yards. Also,
biggest play of the game didn't go to Roma Dunze.
His receiver mate.
Jalen McMillan is back and healthy, and it wasn't just a bunch of screens at the line of scrimmage, although those were quite effective in this game.
But the 45-yard reception, that is one of the hugest plays that happened. Huskies were down when they hit that reception, right? That was a monster play heading into the 4th quarter, hitting Jalen McMillan on that one. Having the full receiving core, Jalen Polk going out, making another incredible catch, right, in traffic. Roma Dunze and Jalen McMillan. They didn't even really need Jeremy Bernard in this one. They didn't even really need Jack Westover in this one.
They did need Jeremy Bernard. He scored a touchdown.
But the one person that they did need, another dog for life. Quentin Moore, baby! When it matters the most, you get the ball to your playmakers.
Would you care to rehash our conversation in the living room as we were watching this game about Quentin Moore?
But I've never heard of him. Who is he?
We definitely talked about him on the podcast because he committed to UW in January 2021, a period where there was not a lot of sports news going on. So I remember it very much. He came from, what was the JC? Independence Community College in Kansas.
Okay.
Came to UW with a decent amount of hype. Had 6 career catches in tonight's game. Had 1 catch all season. And comes up with the touchdown to make this a 2-score game for a brief period of time.
Followed through on that hype, I would say. Quentin Moore, Jeremy Bernard with the touchdown. Jack Westover only 1 catch. Devin Culp,
huge
catch. 13 yards. Like, this is what a receiving core should look like. And it was pretty incredible seeing that many different receivers get involved. I think people are underrating when they talk about the Huskies and some of the struggles that they had against other teams, which literally are an ancient memory at this point. Do I care what they did against Stanford?
They may have happened. It may as well have happened in ancient Rome.
Exactly. I don't care what they did against Stanford. I don't care what they did against Arizona State because they won those games and
Those schools aren't playing. They don't have to play them anymore.
they beat Oregon. And that's all that matters. They outgained Oregon. They ran more plays than Oregon. The yards per play were basically the same. Oregon's yards per play were way better because they're behind the ball. That's kind of how it goes generally.
Well, largely because of the 63-yard touchdown.
That
I don't
helped
know
too.
when we're going to talk about the darkness that was seen in this game, but there was much of it observed at times.
We can talk about the darkness, but
You're Mr. Darkness. You are the darkness.
I didn't need darkness in that game. I knew that the darkness would come. There are some games that you reserve a special place for of, you know what? If we just win this comfortably, I'm good. That is one of those games.
Oh, now you're Mr. I'm happy with a comfortable win.
I'm saying there are certain games that are scary enough. I don't need to be engaged in the game, right? I was engaged from the first play. I've been engaged since the field goal went through against Wazoo. Even before then, I think UW was also. UW was looking at that.
I think you mentioned on the pod, Ryan Grubb may have been saving a few of these ones for
Oh,
the
I mean,
matchup, including the Wildcat, which we have not seen in weeks.
I think the
don't
play
think.
calling was phenomenal in this game. But I do also want to
Even
mention.
like I feel bad. One of the plays where the darkness was seen, Dylan Johnson slipping on the 3rd and 2 play. But it was a great play call.
I mean, that was when you're watching that. We're coming off the Seahawks game yesterday. Such an amazing Seahawks game. And a couple of small moments led to the Seahawks losing that game. A couple of 3rd downs, 4th downs, right? You see that moment happen for Dylan Johnson, and you're just like, that's going to come back to hurt us.
Ooh.
Which it didn't. And I think that was the most important. It was right after that the defense had their stop, right?
No. After that, Oregon scored the touchdown to take the lead.
Okay.
Penix got sacked on 4th down. Oregon scored the touchdown to take the lead. Then UW had the go-ahead drive that you talked about, including the Jalen McMillan touchdown pass.
But you
or
have to
deep
look at
pass, I
the
should say.
defense in this game, which I would say that I don't want to say they're much maligned defense, but like
I think they're pretty maligned.
they have been a
No, I don't know if that any other defense is like a specific regular talking point on the college football playoff conference call.
they've been maligned. But I will say right here, UW goes up 27-24, right? After the DJ run, right? Great play. Dylan Johnson, dog for life. Oregon, 5 plays, 11 yards, and a punt. Bo Nix on 3rd and 9, run for no gain. Not officially a sack. Run for no gain on that one.
You were asking whether they might go for it in that situation. I was like, there is no chance they are going for it after getting stuffed 3 times in a row.
hindsight, they should have gone for it. Obviously, I mean, they lost the game. See, whatever didn't go right, they should have done because we came down and scored a touchdown, and boom, the game's over.
I mean, Dan Lanning did, to his credit, know a lot of this game. That he went for what was it, a 4th and 6 on the touchdown drive.
When they
after
did that, the first drive of the second half,
Right.
when they come out of the second half and go for that 4th and 6, and it's like, oh shit, we were playing this type of game, huh?
Dan Lanning did not get bullied into not going
No.
4th downs as we
No.
hoped after the last game.
The only
he
thing
might
that I
be.
was wondering about Dan Lanning, whether he would do it, was possibly going for 2 when they scored the really fast touchdown at the end of the game. I don't know what the statisticians would say about that, but you basically set yourself up to win.
Huh, that's an interesting thought.
Whether he should have gone for 2 there and been like, the field goal is going to give us the victory rather than going to overtime. I thought there was a chance that he did it.
You might
They
incentivize
didn't
the
do-
offense to play more aggressively in that situation.
I will say credit to Oregon here. They didn't do a lot of cheating bullshit, right? There was almost none. They didn't do
They don't-
pre-snap.
They didn't fake any injuries.
Extra point stuff. They didn't fake any injuries. It was never beneficial for them to have done that, I don't think, in any situation. They just scored too fast.
Right.
But credit to Oregon. There was nothing that they did that was obviously cheating. So, if there's one thing that I can give them credit for, that's it. The one thing that I cannot give them credit for is Bo Nix's performance. Mr. 80% completion percentage. Everybody across the country's been talking about Bo Nix. There have been pages and pages.
It was a very old man thing. Everybody across the country has been talking about Bo Nix.
They have. Even when they showed the stats at the bottom, Bo Nix starts 1 for 5. There's your 80%. Look, this ain't Arizona State walking through that door, Bo Nix. Sometimes you need to play real opponents in the Pac-12, including these dogs. 21 of 34, 239 yards, end up with 3 touchdowns, had the nice run. But like, Bo Nix as a passer was not as scary as Bo Nix the passer that we have seen in other weeks. And you have to give the Husky defense credit for that. There were not, aside from the long touchdown at the end of the game, and aside from the long Bo Nix run, there were not that many situations where they just beat us over the top. They had a strategy coming into the second half. They ended up scoring a touchdown on this drive. They did the run for a first down, I think, first play. Then they threw deep. And it was like Oregon is testing the secondary. They were trying to see if this is the secondary that they played in Seattle that they were able to score long touchdowns on. And this is not that secondary. This is a healthy UW secondary that's seen some shit throughout the year.
I mean, Asa Turner's return in this one, Cam Fabiculanen was incredible in this game, playing in relief of Turner at times. They split time at safety. I don't think we saw any of Mikkel Esteen, who did a credible job.
He was in at the end.
Okay. Who did a credible job, filling in for those two guys. But you did see the difference in terms of just general play diagnosis, having everybody in the right spot.
But they were
that
there,
sort of
too. They were there in a lot of those plays. Even there were the fourth down that they picked up. Not the first one, that's the later fourth down that was like 4th and 5 or whatever. Like, the coverage was right there. They just made a good catch. And that's all you can really ask for from a defense against an offense like Oregon, is just be in the right position. And aside from a couple of very small breakdowns, they were not in a bad place to be very often.
Bo Nix, no longer the highest single season completion percentage in FCS or FBS history.
Who is it?
Mac Jones back number 1 at 77.4%.
There we go.
Bo Nix now just 77.2%.
That's big
game.
McCorkle energy
That is
right there.
coming live.
Look, maybe it's better for Bo Nix in the long term.
Coming to you live, that stats update.
Bucky Irving. Again, they were talking about, even on the broadcast, Bucky Irving is so amazing, right?
Bucky Irving isn't good.
About how great Bucky Irving has been. 9 carries for 20 yards in college.
Jordan James is the real threat at Oregon running back.
And they ran him
he was the one who
5
had the
times.
17-yard carry.
5 times they ran Jordan James.
I would be furious about that if I were an Oregon fan.
The Bucky Irving carries, like UW's defense, what I was expecting going into this game was Oregon to be slashing UW's defense on the ground. And it was just, their game plan was very different than I expected it to be. They came out, they passed a ton. They really didn't run all that much. I thought it was going to be run, just like churning, run, running us over, pushing us. I thought the UW line, defensively and offensively, got a way better push than you would expect. They pressured Bo Nix a lot. There was the play in the first half where Bo Nix is scrambling, looks back, sees Braylon Trice, and is just like, oh shit.
Business decision.
Yeah. It's like, that wasn't what I expected to see there. Like, this defense played so well. So they show the stat. Bo Nix starts out 1 for 5, and then they do the before and after. And we're used to games where it's like 1 for 5, and then all of a sudden he's 20 for 21 after that.
Correct.
He ended up 21 of 34. It's not like post the 1 for 5, all of a sudden Bo Nix, he was better, obviously, because you couldn't be worse and have scored 31 points. But it wasn't like an amazing performance from that point forward. And especially considering that one of those is the 63-yard touchdown to Trayshawn Holden. So, like, and the UW's defense was in prevent in that situation. I just think the defense played an amazing game against an offense like this, and that's what gives me hope when going forward they're going to be playing a team like Michigan, like Georgia, like Florida State, something like that. Imagine UW gets to 1 and plays Florida State.
All right, we got a lot of scenarios.
I'm just telling you.
But the good news is we can't jinx anything anymore. The Huskies are in.
What if one of Michigan or Georgia loses, and it's 2-3 UW and Florida? All of a sudden, we're cheering for Florida State. You know what I mean? We go from not cheering for Florida State to now we are like, yes, get in Florida State, right?
I mean, be careful what you wish for.
I would be very happy to find a scenario to play Florida State in the college football playoff and Tate Rodemaker.
The important thing is that UW ends up in the Rose Bowl. If it were a classic UW Big Ten Pac-12 matchup, a classic Big Ten matchup.
Big Ten matchup.
Against
Who could
Michigan.
ever imagine what it'll be like?
If UW plays Michigan? Wow.
UW Michigan? Woo.
That would be very fun. I would is the traditionalist on the Fabulous Pelton cast. I would appreciate one last Big Ten Pac-12 Rose Bowl until hopefully they move the Big Ten championship game to the Rose
They're
Bowl.
coming west, baby. I don't want to have to play in Indianapolis. Fuck that. Just do the Big Ten championship in Vegas. Come on.
It is a pretty good place for the Big Ten championship, for any championship. I admit, I'm a little bummed that I wasn't there. This was only the fourth Husky game all season that I watched on TV.
I gotta say, you gotta shout to the Tailgate of Champions crew. Whatever they're doing with their
They saged, yeah.
the sage and everything, it works.
Third Pelton brother Nate Taggart. I guess not technically third Pelton. No, he has been on.
Talked about dicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had not won a road game. Maybe had one road game.
One road win.
It was like 1 in 13 coming into the season, and now boom, USC, Oregon State, and the Pac-12 championship all in this
Beautiful
run.
thing. I have a message for you, Nate.
He
and
will
crew.
not. He will not be at the semifinals, sadly.
Why?
His significant other has to work the Kraken outdoor game at T-Mobile Park. So we'll see.
Wow. Okay. A hockey game.
I
And the
gotta
Huskies in the college football playoff. The choice is yours.
I gotta say the Kraken playing on New Year's Day at T-Mobile Park sure seemed a lot more exciting when they weren't playing against UW in the college
So the
football
the
playoff.
games are definitely New Year's Day
Because of the fact that the Rose Bowl is involved, both semifinals will be on New Year's Day.
There we go. Freaking New Year's Day.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Is God and Keith Jackson intended it?
I cannot wait. New Year's Day, possibly Pac-12, Big Ten, in the Rose Bowl. It's a beautiful thing. Most importantly, we own you, Oregon. We own you. We were aligned for a second to get to the Big Ten, and now you are our children. And I'm so sorry about that, Dan Lanning, because you've beaten a lot of other teams, but not Kalen DeBoer. Bo Nix, you've beaten a lot of other teams, but not the Washington Huskies. It is 3 in a row. At least 2 of those times, Oregon was favored. At least 2 of those times, Oregon was favored by almost double digits.
One of those times they were favored by double digits. Yes.
And none of those times were they able to follow it through. So we get to have an amazing weekend. I'm going to go buy the biggest fucking Christmas tree. Like, just everything that any of the children ask for. I'm going to be like, of course. This house is going to look like the goddamn Griswolds after this.
Let's hope you don't break any windows, which, based on the
neighbors' windows are the ones that get broken.
there's some of theirs that are broken when the tree bursts.
Yeah. No, that's the neighbor's windows. Oh, when he puts in the... Yeah, I guess
The
that's
new
true.
tree, yeah. We'll return with our podcast about National Lampoon
I
Christmas
think they're doing
Vacation.
rewatchables this year.
Oh, send that invite. I'm ready.
It's literally the greatest movie ever made, excluding Nobody. #1 movie.
Anyways, I think
It's like Marco in the Mario movie. He's like to Marco the Mario movie is like the Godfather. He was. I think he said Christmas Vacation is the #2 movie ever, and I'm like, what's #1? He's like, the Super Mario movie. It's like, damn, there's not a question.
I mean,
it's Casa fucking Blanca to Marco the Mario movie.
obviously that was me with Major League 2 at around the same age. So
I saw
I
they have
get
Major
it.
League on HBO Max. I've been thinking about turning that one on.
We're gonna come up with by the weekly pod. We'll have to come up with a name for our National Lampoon's Christmas
Do you wanna-
Vacation pod.
Do you want to know what's coming? Not on this week's weekly pod. 2 weeks from now. This is a tease right here at the end of the UW Owns Oregon podcast.
What's that?
The return of Coach's Corner.
Oh wow,
I'm back,
that's
baby.
right.
Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. I'm gonna have a wild team this year.
I've already heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. From Baby's Fantasy Genius. Look, I don't have the same degree of hostile energy about the rivalry with Oregon is many Husky fans, including many members, co-hosts of this podcast.
Oh,
But-
it's as high as possible for me.
What I will tell you is it gives me life to think about how on tilt Oregon fans are going to be for the
Oh,
next
yeah.
12 months, because we're not going to play them again until the post-Thanksgiving window in 2024. So they're going to have 51 weeks to just sit in the fact that they have not beaten UW 3 consecutive times after dominating this rivalry for such a long period of time.
It's a beautiful thing. And we're going to have an amazing weekend. Go Dogs. An amazing victory against Oregon. And if I can wrap this up by quoting the shirt of record. What is he now at UW? 23-2?
Well, he's 13-0 this year. They were 11-2 last year. So 24-2.
4
Have we given Kalen DeBoer enough credit on this podcast?
No,
by the way?
we've given Kalen DeBoer plenty of credit.
Okay. I just
Wait,
want
wait,
to make
wait,
sure.
what day was it that?
Because his record is now 113 and 2 and 11, 113 and 11, I believe. Or 100, or no, 103 and 11. I'm sorry. That's his career coaching record now.
Hold on.
The bag is coming for Kalen DeBoer, and it's gonna be mind blowing. Whatever his contract extension looks like when we eventually see that down the road.
It has now been 419 beautiful days since the Huskies have lost a game. And you have to give credit to Kalen DeBoer, everybody we mentioned on this podcast, most importantly, Michael fucking Penix.
Also, Jake Hader. Would never have happened without Jake Hader deciding to stick it out at Fresno State. We'll probably save that for the year in review pod, but sometimes when you think things don't work out, they actually work out quite well. On that note,
Thanks for listening.
thanks.
Go Dogs.